Hey everybody, Jennifer Louden, jenniferlouden.com. I want to talk to you today about how I record and manage my creative ideas. For too much of my life, I didn't do this. I didn't have a structure or a system that worked for me, and I lived a lot of my creative life in a dull sense of panic. Creative energy is energy that needs a place to go, and it needs forms and structures to support it. And I thought that was bull. Like, I'm creative. I just want to be free floating. But I have a bad memory, so I have a lot of fear I'll forget, which is totally normal. And our minds also, when we don't get something out, we sort of keep circling. Nothing new can come. We can get really gummed up. I also needed a system that was flexible, that I could rearrange, that was tactile. And not getting these things in place for me was really deadly. And it fed on, or it fomented, my creative low self-esteem, subtly sending me, and sometimes not so subtly sending me, a message: my ideas don't matter, because I'm not taking the time to create a system that supports them and that makes me feel safe. That's changed. I have a system. It's kind of flobbly and has a lot of different components, but it really works. It's not the system for you, but I hope it sparks you to fine tune or celebrate your current system. So the first thing I had to learn is that creating a system and structures for your creative ideas, managing your workflow, takes time. It takes learning. It doesn't spring fully formed from your head. Like, it wasn't Diana out of Zeus's head. It was Athena out of Zeus's head. It doesn't come from someone else. Like, again, my system, maybe there are parts of it that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to try that. Oh, that's cool. Or, oh, that's a tweak I can do to mine. But you can't take on someone else's system. It doesn't work. You have to ask, like I did, what kind of animal am I? What kind of support do I need so that my creative energy, my ideas, my projects can really be taken care of? I had to learn I like simple systems. I'm a simple person. I had to learn I wanted something that was super flexible, nothing rigid. When I read David Allen's Getting Things Done, my head exploded, right? Too complicated for me, too rigid. And I know GTD people listening will be like, it's not rigid, Jen. Just, that was my take on it. I needed something that could be tactile, that had embodied components, super important for me. I needed something I could rearrange. I needed something that was big. I'll talk about what I mean by big late in a minute. All of this would help me feel that my ideas could be held, that they could arrive someplace, and that I could find them later. Also super important, searchable and iterative. It has things built in that allows me to keep coming back and reviewing, seeing, because I'm always off to the next bright, shiny thing. So I need things that bring me back. So here's what I've come up with. First component is a cheap journal. One journal until it's full. But everything goes in this, from, a conversation with a friend, to all these mind maps I'm going to talk about in a minute, to book darts. I'll talk about those in a second. But I'm also really careful to label, to make marks so I can go back and find things, and then to go back and find them and put them someplace else or use them if they're just going to be used. So this is a book dart. It's a, I don't know if you can see that. Here's another one. They're kind of expensive. You can Google book darts, and we put the link below the post. And but they're great because they don't curl up like Post-it notes or those little plastic Post-it note things. So here's a question for a product I'm creating. So I wanted to make sure I could go back and find it. Here's just some little, I was at a retreat and I get bored if I have to sit still. So I go back and I make sure that I flag and I harvest my journal. And it's all in one place, so I don't have to go looking through a bunch of Post-it notes or pieces. So super important. All in one journal until it's full, and then I keep them. And reviewing it, flagging it, writing dates in it, so I can go back and find things. And I use a few different ways to do that. Number 2 journal is an idea journal. And this is super important for those of you who have more ideas for businesses, products, books, articles, ways to save the world than you can ever possibly bring to life in this human scaled life. And so I have a nice journal, and I write in it nicely. And when I have an idea and I know it needs some attention, I write it down as neatly as I can. And then I kind of bow to it and I say, oh, sweetie, I'm so glad you came. But for now, just for now, I'm going to be working on these other ideas. That's what we need. These parts of our psyche, our ideas, they need our attention. Otherwise, they keep, gumming up the works. Oh, I pay them attention. And again, I review that idea journal from time to time. And sometimes I find, wow, that idea became part of this idea. Or wow, that idea, you know what? Somebody else did it. I'm so glad. Sometimes, wow, I really still want to do that idea. And that reviewing process is also really important to build that trust with the parts of you that are like, you sure? Are you really paying attention to me? Or are you lying to me? Are you shining me on? None of us like to be shined on. Okay, so 2 journals plus review. Third component of my system is Evernote. Now, don't freak out if you're like, oh, I hate Evernote. I use it the way I want to use it. That is that I use it for everything that doesn't go in my notebook, and some things get transferred from my notebook when it's time to put them in. And I don't use tags, which some people go on and on about, but you might love. I use notebooks. I create a notebook. Like here's the notebook for the Oasis, which is my not membership program, but community, and will open again for new people in the fall. And all my notes, everything that I clip from the internet that I might use, like here's the four books from my friend Michael Bungay-Stainer on building habits. Maybe I'll want to use that. And then I do winter, spring, call, and then of course the dates up here so I can know if it was 2016, 2015. And I love Evernote. It's flexible, it's simple, I can make it my own, so it fits a lot of the categories of what kind of animal I am. But it only started to work for me when I said I will put everything in it that doesn't go in my journal. And I write my blog posts in it, I create the Oasis in it, I create my classes, my curriculum, my retreats in it, everything. So we could say a lot more about Evernote, but the main thing is you need to use it. You need to have the web clipper, which looks like this. I think you can see it. It's just a little, here, I'll do it. So it says save, and then you can say where you want to save it to. I want to save it into AGen, and I want actually to save the whole page, but I didn't do that, so I just saved that part. Okay, so that's super great, and you put it in your notebook. It's a great way to save stuff. You can save recordings, you can take pictures from your phone, you can send emails to it. Again, I had to take the time to learn it. Instead of going down the rabbit hole of Evernote, let's go to our next part of our component, which is this big screen computer that I'm speaking to you on. It's a giant desktop. It's the biggest desktop I could get. Oh my God, do I love big. I love being able to rearrange the pages so I can see everything in one place. Like, oh yeah, okay. And then I'm gonna put this over here. All right, so I can see it next to that while I'm creating that. Spatially fantastic, high res, just feels more expansive. It fits my energy. And I'll do the same thing from time to time with my notebook. I'll get a big sketchbook because I'm thinking, wow, my ideas are so big, or I need to use color. Every sketchbook, every notebook is different. It's what's available at the time, what I'm feeling like, and never expensive. So, big computer, super important for me. All right, now let's go over to mind maps. What is this thing that I have with these mind maps? How do I use them? Why are they important to me? I think they're the best thing since sliced bread, even though I don't really eat sliced bread, but sliced bread is a nice thing, huh? You know, if you buy that beautiful loaf at Whole Foods, don't you always get it sliced? You'll see that my notebook has all kinds of, I swear it does, all kinds of mind maps in it. Flexible, spatial, the way my mind works. Incredibly good for that nervous energy when an idea is coming and it's coming really fast. Here's a couple of ways to use it. I don't use software. Again, simple, cheap, fast, that's me. I put a question in the middle. Questions like tickle our brain. Sometimes I'll start a mind map and it's not working. I start over again with what did I put in the middle? You can see that I write really fast. You can see my handwriting's not great. You probably can't even read it. Lots of misspelled words. You can see lines. I recircle things. I loop things back around. I keep my hand moving. I don't write very much. A word or two, a phrase, because if I start to write a lot, I slow that big picture down. I'm trying to look for big picture and associations. I use these for blog posts. I use this for my book. I use this for a curriculum. I use this when something's bothering me and I don't know what to do about it. Super great. I keep them, maybe, maybe not. Usually they become the basis for something that I go ahead and do, and I don't need the original. If the original feels really precious, I put it in a folder. that I probably don't label because I'm tired. I'm bad about the paper part of my structure, so we're not going there. Here we have headphones. Hey, I work at home alone. My husband goes to an office now. My kids are in college, but I still love the feeling of when I sit down to do creative work, I put on a piece of music and I have headphones. I feel enclosed. I feel safe. It gives me containers and parameters. Love that. A couple of things. Google Docs. We use Google Docs for our entire team. Some people, that drives crazy, but for me, again, it's simple. We create in a more complicated project. We create a index at the beginning and maybe a timeline with a box with the dates in it. And again, there's management software like Asana, Basecamp that we tried it. It was too complicated for me. I didn't use it. What will you use? What kind of animal are you? And my team also really knows how to use Google Docs and likes it. So they set it up better than I do, which is fine. You can get help. You don't have to do this all alone. Now let me take you to my favorite part. Well, I can't say my favorite part, but one of the, the thing that I use, oh my God, without it, I'm lost. It is totally the repository for everything. And that is the free app. I use the free version, Todoist. Now, there's lots of apps like this, but this is the one I found that I like the most. Everything I have to do, as soon as I think of it, goes in here in one of these folders with a date. Immediately, my anxiety level goes down. I think I'm going to forget it. Where am I going to find it? It's in there. I always double check the date to make sure I actually, because I'm dyslexic and I can, I'm like, okay, blogging, right. Okay, did I really put it on the right day? You probably don't need to do that. Then I manage this. And this is so important. And this is what I see creative people not doing, not giving themselves time to actually manage the system they're using. And then they think it's the system's fault or their fault. And they fall off into low creative self-esteem and not doing your work and not getting out in the world. So I spend sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes moving things around. So every day when I come in after I'm done writing, I've meditated and brought my coffee up here and I'm ready to write. After I've done that and I come to the rest of my day, I'm like, I'm going to be looking at a list that is actually doable given whatever else I have going on in that day. Given my energy, given that I'm a human, given that I'm not superhuman. Today is not the day I'm going to be superhuman. And given that I have other appointments. Like today, I have an appointment at 12. I have 1. I have an appointment at 2 with my Brain Trust, which is my mastermind group. I have to do my exercising. I put that in as an appointment because it creates a container because I have some resistance to doing that, especially my PT. And then Lisa's probably going to come here today at 5. So, oh wow, I really got to be done with work by 1. So I have to adjust that list so it's doable today. And then, wow, things are looking a little weird. I better move some things for tomorrow, so I'll do that later. You'll also see that I put questions. Any more Richard retreats? Richard Miller is a meditation teacher I study with. I put those questions in there because there's something that needs to be decided. It needs time. If those aren't put in with a date, they're going to be back there creating that creative anxiety, that feeling of forgetting. I also, of course, always arrange it so, writing is at the top and then check in with my communities. TN is Teach Now, etc. So I put them in order. And then there's going to be some things that sometimes the list looks really long, but they're small things. They're going to take 5 minutes. And if they don't feel overwhelming to me visually, I'll go ahead and keep them on the list. If I'm like, oh, that's going to feel like too much, I'll move it. And then if I'm like, oh, I have a little time, I'll look ahead and see, are there some small things that I feel the energy to tick off right now? And then I'll just go ahead and do this 7-day view. I have these folders. They just make me feel more organized. So Deep Creating is the book. There could be painting in there, something else that I'm doing. Teaching and story creating is by the different projects I'm working on. I don't break down the retreats farther. I'm not quite sure why. Business building and caretaking, blogging, list building, PR, preparing for podcasts I'm going to be on, general, family, health and exercise, spiritual and no clients, and fun. And those are tied to the colors on my Google Calendar. But only thing that goes on my Google Calendar is appointments, because otherwise I feel anxious when I look at it. Again, making it mine, you may do something completely different. Last thing I want to talk about is note cards. Actually, I have 2 more things I want to talk about. One is note cards. When I start Sometimes I'll go from a mind map to note cards and taking ideas out. I do this a lot for curriculum, teaching curriculum retreats. Then I'll say, okay, these are the things I need. I start to build them out a little bit more on note cards, move them around, fill in the blanks, maybe live with that over here. I have a L-shaped desk for a while, and then I'll take it into Evernote and start creating it, because Evernote has note cards within its folders, and then I can move them around. I might call them day one, morning one, something like that. So again, there's a tactileness and an openness to the mind map that then becomes tactile but a little more specific with the note cards, and then goes all the way into digital. And aside, for those of you who teach or lead, I teach out of Evernote, and I make changes in the document as I teach it differently. If I say something really smart, if I leave something out, I indicate all that, so I have a map for the next time I teach the same thing. Super great way to build your teaching, learn, and save time. All right, I said I was going to say one more thing, and that is I just want to talk about the Oasis. The Oasis, again, is it's my community for creative women who want to get stuff done, who want to stay balanced, who want to live their most full lives. Creating that curriculum and then participating in it when I lead it is one of my ways, is one of my internal, external structures. The internal then flows out into the external. We hit the same ideas over and over again, the self-care, basic needs, getting stuff done, desires, and that is incredibly this deep foundation for the structure I've been sharing for you. And then as a creative, it is the kind of structure where I can pour a lot of ideas into, which is really helps that idea anxiety. Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to talk about that. Oh, well, what about that? Get a little relief. So you may think about all of that for yourself. But the most important thing, my dear, is that it works for you and that you give it time and attention and nurturing and review. And that it support your great ideas and your great work in this world. Your ideas are worth it. They're worth a structure. They're worth a workflow. They're worth a way to prioritize, winnow, and tend. Thanks for listening. Hope this was useful. And again, on the blog post, we put links to some of these different tools and a few more that I didn't have time to mention. Bye. Thanks.